Guys, what's going on? So yesterday was the 1 month mark of my FUT hair transplant procedure. I'm thoroughly satisfied so far because those first 3 weeks was a lot of recovery. So once you get to the 1 month point, you're going to be feeling so much better. You can be back to your normal schedule, back to the gym, back to the office, and you won't be looking too funny. I'll give you guys a quick look here on this camera. I definitely got some photos. So I'll be showing you guys those, but let's see how close I can get while the quality looks okay. Actually, so I think the shedding phase. I'm pretty sure I'm past that because every time when I rinse or shampoo my hair, I look at my hands to see how many hairs have been coming out. And during the 2 to 3.5 week period, there was loads of hairs, especially on my bed. But now I'm pretty sure I'm past that phase. Also, I took a long time with the crusting and scabbing because I didn't try to accelerate the process. I didn't put oil. I'm pretty good at not picking stuff. And so really those took like 3 weeks to come off, which is probably a lot longer than normal, but it was up to about close to 3 weeks. And now the numbness is like halfway gone. I still can't quite feel the top of my head, but it's about halfway gone. And the scarring in the back, I have a lot of other photos I can show you guys about that. It's not convenient to turn around, but let's get to the photos so I can show you guys some of the good stuff. By the way, I think it looks better already. Really, it's very thin. I could almost actually play it off as like my normal hair, just going thin, but it'll definitely double or triple in perceived thickness. So let's just share the whole screen. All right, going to the photos. That's not the one I want to show you guys, but I'll talk about it. All right, so here we go. And these are photos from yesterday. So what I've done, I had a bunch of photos. I took most of them out, and what I've done is basically I just take a photo like on once a week, like Saturdays, because doing them daily, it's too much, and you can't really see that much of a difference on a day-to-day basis. It's just much easier week by week. Okay, so this is me right before the surgery. You can see the date here, so just keep an eye on this as I'm clicking through. This is right after the surgery. No, sorry, this is the next day, because after right after the surgery, I went home and went to sleep. I was just toast. Okay, so I try to take the photos on Saturdays. This is the first Saturday after the surgery, 21st, a few days later. Those are the stitches that they took out on the 31st, which was the second Saturday. I had about 26, they said, around my head. Those are the big stitches, the sutures, not the biodegradable ones. Okay, so here's that same Saturday. We're looking at my head. Okay. There was a lot of, it looked weird. There was too many, lengths going on there. And the hair was it was still a little bit stubbly. It wasn't growing out yet at that point, really. So it was still kind of hard, and the hair didn't really bend. Another week later, hair's feeling better. You can see it's growing a bit here. You can just tell by this obvious part in the front. That's the 7th, 14th. Even more, it's looking to calm down a bit by now. And this was yesterday, the 21st. So this is me just outside. Just focus on the top there. The hairline looks good. I like it. I like that hairline. And here's just probably the best shot showing the 1 month progress so far. So you can see the hair it's thin, it's weak, it's sparse, but this is just the beginning. And I think most people probably shed a little bit more than this. So I consider myself not lucky, but somewhat mildly fortunate to still have enough hair that I can kind of pass off as, people won't look at it and immediately think, something happened there. All right, so that's the last of the photos for that one. This is basically head hair is what I have it labeled as. I'm practicing my Chinese, so I have stuff labeled in a different language. Another thing I did was I have the scar here. So I'll show you guys the scarring real quick. I'm not going to take very long with this one because I don't want this video to be too long. But I think the scarring is important, and people are often worried about it. I would say don't underestimate it. It's going to be an inconvenience, and it's a pretty hardcore incision. I got a lot of grafts taken out. If you have 2,000, that'd be different. They wouldn't have to cut out as much and stitch your head so tightly together. When they're pulling this down and pulling this up, there's so much tension the more grafts they take out. And I was probably at near the maximum amount that they can take out with one FUT procedure. Now, one thing to note, take a look at this photo. This is 10 days after. You can see these red marks. Those are from the sutures because they need to put in some lockdown mechanisms hardcore in there to keep it together. So they actually cause some bleeding and scarring themselves, but that's unavoidable. Anyways, this region right here is what I want you to focus on. That's 10 days after. Now check me out just yesterday, 1 month after. So that, if you're not familiar, is called shock loss. I didn't actually have the procedure there. It's just this area was so traumatized, hair just fell out, and the actual incision was like right here. But they say several months, which I don't want to be waiting several months to get that patch back. But we do what we got to do, and I knew this going in. I've been using this scar cream called Hiruscar to kind of fade the marks, so I've been putting it on once or twice a day. I don't think it's entirely necessary, especially because my scar line looks pretty good as is, considering I credit everything to the clinic, but I do it anyway because I think it's going to help. Okay, I got a couple quick more here. I'm not even sure if I should put them in here, but you know what? I'm just going to give you guys a miniature look. So I put hair in my brows. This is me before the brow transplant. I was pretty messed up, man. I got some. These are 1 fight, 2 fight, the third. I got like another one back. You can't even see it from that angle, but they definitely hooked me up. So that was before. This is right after they've implanted the hairs. This is a month later. This is yesterday, so you can see, it's still noticeable, but I mean, it's like half as much as before. And it's going to improve. It's going to improve. All right, so that's the brow. The last thing I will show you guys that I've been keeping track of is these right here. I bought a USB microscope. And since they have me taking these medications, one is to prevent any further hair loss, and another one is to basically increase thickness within existing hair. Then I want to keep track of that, and I want to know if it's being effective, if it's actually working. Now, I will say it's hard for me to take good photos with this microscope, especially on myself. So I'm still learning as I'm going, but this is definitely better than nothing. So I'm taking different sections of my head. You can see I have them labeled here. I'm taking like 6 different points. So if like this was the head, there's left temple, front center, right temple, then behind, 1 row behind. So like a 2x3 row. Let's go through these. Now, first thing I'll say is you can see some really thin hairs here. Like this one is almost see-through, opaque. This one looks like a horsehair from a violin. It's so thin compared to this. This one looks like a tree compared to a weed. If I had to try to calculate how many more times thick this hair is than this, or this, it's got to be like 4 or 5 times, it's just so much thicker. This thing, I don't know what that's kind of grossing me out. It's probably just my oily skin, which is a little bit helpful, I think, maybe for procedures like this, because you don't want a super dry scalp. You have to like typically add moisture. Anyways, so here you can see some more thin hairs mixed in along with thick hairs. Even in this graft here, which appears to be a 4-hair graft, there's one hair that's really thin, and you can kind of see the other ones, they're like stalks. I have like thick, dark, black Asian hair, so that's what it's normally supposed to look like, quite thick and coarse. Here, see, like here, there's only 1 hair sprouting out, and it's super thin. I'm not even sure how it pushed through the skin, but nature does its job, and it's sitting next to these Goliath-looking hairs that are sprouting out. So this one's bound to thicken up if the medication is working and if things go as they should. It's gonna get a lot more noticeable. So we have thin hairs. We also have short hairs that are barely budding. See, like here, these two are barely budding. These two are barely budding, and there's going to be a lot on the surface that are just coming out. So this is the 1 month mark, and like these, after I would say a couple months, I've heard at a couple months you can start to see signs of regrowth. That would make sense. If they're barely hitting the surface now on a microscopic level, give it another month. Once they get some length, and you'll be able to see it much more easily with the human eye. Same thing here, you can see it's still growing out. So it's a little bit grown out already, but again, we're on a microscopic level, so that's still not going to be very visible. All right, this might be the last one. It's a little bit maybe too close, but you can see a thin hair here. All right, and this is the microscope. That's pretty much everything. Let me go ahead and turn this off now. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please let me know if you have any questions. You know, I'm doing this as I'm going, so now is a good time to catch me, because if you wait, or if you're seeing this video, you know, many months or years later, to be honest, I might not be as enthusiastic about it. And you know, I always try to help out, but now is the best time to ask me any you know, questions that you have that you can't find the answer to, or you want my opinion on something personally. Anyways, hope this has helped someone out. Definitely looking forward to seeing the results. But yeah, this is me at 1 month. To be honest, I'm already quite satisfied. I just know it's just gonna get better and better. So I'm gonna keep taking a picture every week on Saturday. I'll update you guys on the monthly. And by the time we get to like 6 to 9 months, I'm sure it's gonna be looking awesome. So let's talk soon, guys. Take care.